Hey everyone, let's just jump right in. In today's explainer, we're setting out on an exploration of what is arguably the human mind's most powerful, confusing, and honestly, utterly mysterious ability. We're talking about metacognition. We're going to take an inward journey to understand the actual architecture of our own awareness, pulling together some brilliant insights from our source material covering quantum physics, psychology, and even ancient mysticism. So, I want you to really think about this for a second. Are you the thoughts in your head or the one listening to them? Really let that sink in. It's a pretty provocative thought, isn't it? It instantly pulls you right out of just passively absorbing information and into active self-reflection. Seriously, if you can hear your inner monologue right now, who exactly is doing the listening? All right, part one, thinking versus witnessing. So normally we don't even realize we're thinking, do we? Normal conscious thinking has this heavy, controlling, and honestly almost obsessive texture to it. It's basically a trop of automatic reactions. One thought hooks into the next one, and before you know it, you're compulsively dragged down this rabbit hole of stressful evaluations and external stimuli. You get completely absorbed by all the mental noise. But there's a massive contrast here. On one side, you've got compulsive thinking. That's the judging, the reacting, getting pulled right into the noise. But then, on the flip side, we have what's known as the witness state. And witnessing has a totally different, very light texture to it. It actually creates distance. In this state, your awareness doesn't have prejudice. It doesn't jump in and say, oh, this is a bad thought, or I shouldn't be thinking this. It just simply reflects reality like a totally clear, silent mirror. Which brings us to this absolutely fascinating insight from our sources. The thoughts stop on their own if you do not identify. You remain a witness. This is a profound shift. When you stop claiming every single thought as mine, and you stop identifying with the endless mental chatter, you actually break the cycle. You just watch the thoughts rise up and dissolve, literally like little bubbles popping on the surface of water. Moving right along to section 2, the paradox of self-awareness. Okay, so what actually happens when consciousness reflects upon itself? Well, the crucial thing here is understanding this idea of self-reference. It's a paradoxical loop. In quantum physics and consciousness studies, they talk about this concept of a tangled hierarchy. When consciousness becomes conscious of itself, the observer and the observed, the subject and the object, they actually emerge simultaneously from that single act of observation. Mind-bending, right? The very thing you're looking for is the thing doing the looking. And it's so cool because long before quantum physicists were sitting around debating the collapse of the wave function in the brain, ancient cultures had already visualized this exact self-referential paradox. Our sources point out that psychologist Carl Jung and physicist Amit Goswami both highlighted this ancient archetype. The Ouroboros. It's the serpent devouring its own tail. It is pretty much the ultimate symbol of the mind looping back to observe its own origins. Just think about how wild this really is. The famous Canadian neurosurgeon Wilder Penfield once asked this brilliant question: where is the subject and where is the object if you are operating on your own brain? Like, if your subjective experience is just an objective brain state, who is the one observing the brain? It just perfectly captures the confusing, crazy beauty of our biology trying to grasp its own awareness. Section 3. The Superbrain and the Observer. So what's the actual practical side to all of this? Well, we have to realize that the brain is largely just an automatic machine, right? It just pumps out thoughts and emotions. But author Deepak Chopra points out that we possess a higher capacity. He says, act as an observer, a silent witness to everything the brain does. The brain is ready to follow. You literally have the power to detach. When your mind decides to transcend the automatic noise and simply observe, your brain will actually adapt and follow that higher consciousness. Let's look at these two operational modes side by side. The automatic brain is constantly running on these repetitive mental loops, all your old conditioning, and it's always scanning the environment in basic survival mode. But the detached observer steps back from all of that. By witnessing the automatic brain without getting all tangled up in it, you achieve total peace, silent awareness, and honestly, true freedom. You suddenly start to understand exactly where your emotions are coming from, rather than just being blindly controlled by them. And the payoff for living this way? It's incredible. As we see in the mystic teachings from folks like Joel Goldsmith, the fruits of this witness state are just undeniable. It replaces the exhausted fever of the human mind with genuine rest. It bypasses this constant, exhausting need to chase artificial, external pleasures just to feel okay for 5 minutes. And most importantly, it unlocks an inner freedom that stays completely intact, totally regardless of your external circumstances. True harmony isn't out there in the world. It's found in this quiet, inner kingdom. Which brings us to our final part, Section 4, Cognitive Debugging in Practice. To put all this into practice, the strategist Tony Robbins outlines a really fascinating framework in our source material. He notes that human thinking is essentially just an internal process of asking and answering questions. Think about it. When you hear a weird noise at night and bolt out of bed, it's because you rapidly asked yourself, "Am I in danger?" and your brain answered, "Yes." These internal questions form the initial shape of absolutely all our evaluations. So here is a super practical 3-step method for auto-analysis using metacognition. Step 1. Catch the automatic question you're asking yourself whenever you feel stressed or reactive. Step 2. Channel that Ouroboros energy. Step back and become the silent observer of your own mental loop. Intentionally slow the mind down. And then step 3. Consciously ask a deliberate, higher quality question. You're shifting from automatic pilot over to intentional steering. Now, why is doing this consistent auto-analysis so incredibly vital? Well, because without it, we are completely blind to our own mental errors and bad habits. Carl Jung warned us about something called compartmental psychology. It's where we basically keep contradictory beliefs in totally separate mental drawers. He used the example of an alcoholic who gets miraculously cured by religious fervor, only to inevitably relapse later because the underlying psychological reality was never actually observed or confronted. Regular self-examination is what prevents these blind spots from completely running the show. So if you take only one single thing away from this explainer today, let it be this. You are not your mind. You are the witness standing apart from it. Those heavy, pulling, compulsive thoughts, they're just the weather. You are the sky watching the weather pass by. We've covered the physics, the psychology, and the real-world practical steps of observing your own consciousness. So I want to leave you with this final, lingering thought. Now that your mind has contemplated your mind, who is steering the ship? Take that question with you today, practice stepping back into that witness state, and really enjoy the freedom of truly seeing yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey.